Hotkey Books presents Damien Ike and the Fallen House of Draven, written by D. Benson and David Arlo, and read by Jordan Wilks. Prologue. Herbert Grizzle, overseer of the Death Rite, didn't like surprises. He did like laws, order, and predictability, and his job involved plenty of those. He patrolled the Freedom Tower, satisfied at the way everyone who noticed him stopped talking and started working even faster. Nobody made eye contact with him lest they be accused of slacking. There was a gloomy elegance to the Death Rite. The darkness, the truckloads of ornate coffins, the swift efficiency with which the officials unloaded them. Half a dozen supervisors shouted orders over the rumbling truck engines, while Grizzle strolled among the organized chaos. Ever since the Draven family had flouted the law and tried to oppose the Death Rite, it had become particularly important that everyone understood how crucial it was. The Dravens had thought that being powerful meant they could break the rules. They'd learned the hard way that they were wrong. Nobody could defy the law. Assured that everyone was doing their duty with the appropriate diligence, Grizzle summoned his magic and slowly floated up into the air, his long black jacket billowing around his bony frame. 20 meters above the ground, Grizzle steadied himself and hovered there, the air hardening beneath his boots to form an invisible ledge. The full moon cast ghostly silver rays upon the scene below, making everything seem otherworldly. For the past 30 years, these proceedings had been Grizzle's nightly rhythm. Trucks delivering the Nullborns birthed within the city of Astralis and the surrounding areas. Nullborns from further away being delivered by magic and appearing out of thin air in the cavernous ditch that circled the tower. He was a conductor. This was his orchestra, and he relished the grim harmony of it all. Tonight's death rite was particularly important, as Esmond Ike had just been reappointed as the head of the High Commission of Magic, and would be giving his victory speech soon with the Freedom Tower as his backdrop. Floodlights had been set up, and a red carpet had been rolled out. A gaggle of journalists was waiting, cameras ready, and the crowd of onlookers was growing larger by the second. The High Commission of Magic consisted of the 12 most powerful mages in the world. They regulated the use of magic, and had their own force of officers and detectives who investigated magical crimes. Their leader, of course, had to be the most powerful of all, as the job was the most important in all of the above plane, second only to President. It was no surprise that Esmond Ike had got it again. HCOM leaders had only ever come from one of 3 powerful families, and most had come from the Ike family. A sudden prickle of premonition raced down Grizzle's spine and interrupted his thoughts. The rebels were coming. He looked towards Fairvale Forest, a mile west from the tower, his anger flaring, and tapped into the tide of magic pulsing within him. Immediately, his vision sharpened, cutting through the darkness and zooming in as though he was wearing binoculars. Shadows shifted at the edge of the forest. It could just be nocturnal animals on their nightly hunt, but Grizzle was sure it wasn't. He could sense people drawing closer, and his senses were never wrong. They were probably planning to snatch some Nullborn coffins in full view of the cameras that had been set up to capture Esmond's speech. Well, Grizzle was prepared for them. Armed police officers surrounded the tower, and High Commission officers were also on patrol. Those pesky rebels needed to accept that there was no place in society for people born without magic. The above plane was for mages only, people born in a halo of white light who would awaken magical powers in their teens. The death rite was a necessary step to ensure that Nullborns, people born without a halo, would never be allowed to cause destruction again. When Nullborns had been allowed to live, the results had been catastrophic. The ancients, in their wisdom, had decided they must uproot the weeds before they choked the wheat. Hence the death.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?